Howdy. Welcome to the Stogie Palace. I'm Chris. So this video is not meant for the seasoned cigar smoker of premium cigars, so you can just skip right through this one, but this is more for people that stumble on this page that aren't into cigars much at all or are curious about cigars. Friends, family, whatever, who stumble across my videos thinking, what are you doing? Well, I like cigars. Always have. Been smoking them on and off for the last 25 years, mostly off during about 18 of those years. So, but I like them because they're relaxing. I saw somebody mention somewhere that they make you contemplative. That's true. Cigars, the premium cigars like I'm smoking here, it could last an hour and a half. So it's not something that you want to just waste. If you don't have a lot of time to spend on it, then don't. Because these things aren't necessarily cheap and they're high quality, made by hand. There's two ingredients to these things: tobacco and water. That's it. Maybe a little pectin around the tip to close the end of it, but that's about it. Now, many of you non-cigar smokers may be familiar with what you see at Walmart or liquor stores, gas stations, which of course are these Swisher Sweets, which I freely admit I have some. These little cigarillos. These are mainly for friends, family that aren't really into cigars much and only know those as the only cigars they've been exposed to, or even better, these backwoods. Honeyberry is a damn good flavor, but they do add things to those to give them flavor. Don't ever confuse cigars, even these, with cigarettes. No comparison. First of all, with cigars, and those are not considered premium. Those are handmade, made with little pieces of tobacco. These are rolled pieces of tobacco leaves, and that's it. No additives. Not addicting. You don't inhale. You're not going to get cancer from these. I mean, I'm sure there are cases of people that have gotten throat or mouth cancer from cigars, but there's just too many cases of people out there living into their 90s that smoke a couple a day. And when they can't have it for a week or so, they're not having the shakes. They're not having problems with nicotine, even though these do have nicotine in them. Some more than others. I prefer the ones that don't have a whole lot because I don't want to feel it. I want to just kick back, relax, and enjoy it. So how do you get started with cigars? Well, with these cheapo ones, including the ones with a wooden tip, it's pretty easy. You light, you puff, and that's it. You don't have to worry about cutting them. You don't have to worry about storing them in any special conditions because they're not really all that special to begin with. But with a premium cigar like what I'm smoking here, and they range in price from a couple bucks to $20, $30, $40, $50 a piece. So you want to take care of them and you want to smoke them correctly to get the full benefit. So the first thing you got to contend with when you are other than a casual cigar smoker, which by casual I mean going to a cigar shop and buying one, having them cut it, light it for you, you smoke it there and you're done. Or taking it home and immediately smoking it. You're not storing it for any amount of time. You cannot store premium cigars just out on their own. They will get ruined either by too much heat or too cold. Too cold's not a problem, or too much humidity or too low humidity. So you got to keep it in the sweet spot, which for me is about 65%. Where I live in Colorado, 65% humidity doesn't happen naturally. Some parts of the country it does, but it's not consistent. You want it consistent. So what you need for that, and I don't have one to show you, but I'll put a little picture up, is a humidor, which is a really nice, usually looking wooden box made by Spanish cedar on the inside. Smells really good, looks really good, smells even better once you put cigars in them. And you put in a little device. It can be as cheap as little the green foam that are in flowers, which I don't recommend, or as expensive as some beads that put out humidity and suck it in when it's too high. Those are the top of the line. Then they have gel, all the stuff you can find at cigar stores. Any reputable, like Smoker Friendly, any of the reputable cigar shops will have everything you need. Not necessarily the cheapest of anything you need, but because taxes put on them by states and stuff, they'll get you started. But you want something nice to store them in, to keep them at perfect temperature and humidity. Temperature's a little hard if you keep your house at 90 degrees. You know, these don't have built-in air conditioners or heaters in them, just humidity is, and you have to have some way to read it, and they have little devices for that. They're not that much. So let's say you have some nice cigars sitting in there. It's not like the old days when you see on TV where you go in somebody's office and you have a box of cigars and just open it up, take one out and smoke it. The reality of that situation is, unless you smoke them real quick, within a week or less, those cigars are going to go bad from too much humidity or too little humidity. Unless you live in a humidor. When I say humidor, I don't mean those big walk-in ones at a cigar shop. I mean a literal little box. It's also called a humidor. So let's say you've got your humidor. With regular cigars, almost every situation you have to cut them, the end you put in your mouth. And there are lots of ways of doing it. Most people start off with what they call a guillotine cutter. You put the cigar in there at just the very tip of it and snip it off, and you're good to go. There are lots of other kinds. There's that kind. There's the kind that goes side to side. Pretty nice one there. And then you have one that not as popular. It's called a bullet cutter. And what you do is you put the cigar in there and you twist it till you get a little plug in there, and then pop that off. Or what I've been using a lot lately is similar to that guillotine cutter, but it's a V. It'll cut it into a little V. And I will show you on this cigar I'm smoking right now. As a matter of fact, it was cut with that V cutter. Cuts a little slit there, and it actually goes a little bit deep into this interior cigar. And I've found that I am just getting better performance that way. So there's cutting. You don't want to tear it off with your teeth. It's going to be a mess. So the next thing is you got to decide what kind of lighter you want. And there's basically, well, there's more than two ways, but I mean, you can use a match. Problem with the match is the sulfur that's on the end of that match will taint the cigar. It's not good. I wouldn't do it if I were you. Just a piece of wood, you can do that. Take forever probably. They have these pieces of cedar you can use, which is supposed to be the kind of really cool way of doing it, but the problem with that is that it takes a piece of cedar about this long, and it takes a while for a small little flame to get it going. The most popular way by far is what's called a torch. See that? It's a pretty cool one because it has a little tank and it shows you how much is actually in there. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. There are cheaper versions of it, like this one here. It's smaller, easier to get in your pocket. I got this one for free. Little torch there. And then of course then there's the old Bic lighter. Now the difference between the torch is it puts off basically a little blowtorch type of flame, and you don't ever let it touch directly on the cigar, or else you'll get a burnt charred flavor like burnt marshmallow. You don't want that. So with a Bic lighter, this is what's called a soft flame. See, that's perfectly fine, and it uses the same butane as the others. Nothing wrong with that. Don't use a Zippo. Zippo fuel is something that will impart onto the cigar. You just want to get the cigar the way it was meant to be burned and smoked, which is actually a kind of a cool burn, and leave some of the ash on there like this. That helps keep it cool. If you get it too hot, you feel it. It's a hot smoke. It kind of will overpower whatever flavor's in there, and it's not as pleasurable. And you don't want to be doing puff, 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 puff like that, because that'll just overheat the red area there, which you can barely see right now, which is called the cherry. So then you need to think about an ashtray. Lots of different options for ashtrays. But you want one where you can set the cigar down and not have it rolling around in the ash, because eventually the outside of the cigar, which is called the wrapper, if you get anything on that, whether it be licking it, which you shouldn't do, or put it in your mouth before you light it, which you shouldn't do, or dip it in alcohol, which I guess you could do, but that changes the flavor. Slobbering all over it. But if it's rolling around in ash, in the ashtray, eventually when it burns to the point where that ash is, you'll get that ashy kind of gross flavor that you don't want either. You want to keep it the way it was meant to be smoked. Clean, no fuel on it, no dirty fingers on it, no slobber, no nothing really. Unless you don't care about that, then you shouldn't be smoking expensive cigars to begin with. You just go slow, take your time. Keeps the smoke cool, including what goes into your mouth. You never inhale, unless you really want a painful, uncomfortable experience. I know people will do it and they can get away with it. More power to them. Then you only have so many flavor receptacles in your mouth. Some people are like super tasters. They can pick out all kinds of crazy flavors from cigars. I don't doubt that they do. I haven't mastered that yet. There's certain ones I can pick up on, especially cocoa, coffee, certain tangy things like citrus. But you have a whole lot more flavor receptors in your sinuses. And that's what we call, when you put the smoke in your mouth and blow it out your nose without inhaling. Never. That's what you call retrohaling. And I'll attempt to do it now. I can't always do it perfectly. A little bit what came out, a little about half or so, not too much. Especially certain cigars, it'll kind of burn your sinuses, especially if it's hot smoke, which, like I said, you want to avoid. And when you do that, for me, the most enjoyment out of the cigar is the aroma. So I get it a little bit on the retrohale, but also the smoke is thick, heavy, it sticks around, and I can pick up different things. Sometimes you have to work on it, like, what am I picking up? And unless you have the flavor memory of previously smelling or tasting that thing, whether it be pepper or a fruit of some kind or some different kind of spice, you'll be able to pick it up. You may be surprised. You may be a super taster and don't even know it. I hear sometimes that women are better at being super tasters than men. And then you'll notice the band is on here. For me and a lot of people that smoke premium cigars, it's kind of a ritual thing. You want to cut it right, you want to light it right, which takes a little time. It is kind of like roasting a marshmallow, but not to the point of charring it. You don't want that. And you take your time smoking it, and you show respect for how many 200, 300 pairs of hands that it took to make this. This is a handmade product. Now, the cheaper ones, like those Swishers, if they are not handmade, they're machine made, and they spin them out by the millions. These, on the other hand, they still make millions of certain models, but they're all made by hand. The band is a way of showing respect. And also it's a way of keep putting your hand on the cigar without letting all the oils from your fingers and everything get on the cigar, which could taint the flavor. And the band will help with that, although this is a puny band, so this doesn't do much in that department. And you leave it on until it gets burnt near the band. The heat of smoking the cigar will help remove the band. That'll help loosen up whatever kind of glue they use to put it on. Usually there's self-adhesive. And you can slide off in some cases, or they can just be peeled off. No big problem there. And when you're done, you don't snuff it out like a cigarette. Remember, this is a little more class and style than cigarette smoking. As a cigar smoker, when I see no smoking signs or bans or anything, I know what they're talking about, and I agree with that. I can't stand cigarettes. Most people I know that smoke cigars are not big cigarette smokers, because once you smoke these, you won't want to bother with cigarettes anymore. They're just disgusting. And you probably won't want to bother with the flavored ones like the Swishers and the Outbacks, or the Backwoods is what they're called. Just natural tobacco on its own has a nice flavor and aroma to it. So when you're done with it, you just leave it in the ashtray and let it go out on its own. That's it. You don't, it's also sort of a sign of respect when you see people that are just crushing it out, and that's not cool. I know it may sound a little weird, but that's kind of the thought process behind it all. And you just let it go out on its own. Don't bother trying to relight it the next day. It won't taste nearly as good. That's why you got to put aside the time to enjoy a premium product like this. Now, I will say the thing that does stink the most about cigars is the ash left over the next day and beyond. It reeks. It's one of the worst smells there is. And I smoke here in the garage, and I empty out the ashtray every day. Every time I smoke a cigar, I clean out the ashtray. And if you do that, you don't have any residual smell left behind. My garage does not smell like cigars, even though I smoke 2 or 3 a week, sometimes more. It doesn't smell like cigars. It smells pretty good, actually. I wouldn't say it's like incense. Sometimes that stuff smells okay, sometimes not. But it's the ash that's the culprit with the stink. Lots of places to buy cigars. You can buy them at your local cigar shop, and they need your business. And they will help you start off with milder cigars, and you'll slowly probably move your way up to more fuller body, fuller strength cigars, depending on what you can take as far as nicotine, whether it makes your head spin, whether it makes you nauseous. They don't all have that. And the longer you age it, in that humidor I talked about earlier, if you can let it sit for a month or 2 or 3 or more, those stronger ones, the nicotine tapers off. And then they get really, really good. You can buy cigars online just like anything else. You can bid on them, sort of like eBay, but there's different websites out there, like Cigar Bid is one of them, where you can bid against other people. The only problem with that is when they're shipped, if it's too warm, like hot in the back of a UPS truck, that's terrible for the cigars. Let it sit in your humidor for at least a month after that. Watch out for cigar beetles, which look like little pinholes on your cigar. Throw those out as soon as you can, or else you'll destroy all the cigars in your humidor. Too cold's not really a problem. Too much humidity or too little humidity is a problem. So if you want the freshest, best experience, the only way to go is going to a humidor at a cigar shop, as long as they keep the humidor correctly humidified and air movement. And yeah, main point, enjoy them. You know, it's one of those enjoyable things in life. Pair it up with whatever you want. You want to pair it up with some bourbon, some scotch, whatever. One of the best things I pair it up with a root beer, because it's got a smoky flavor and it pairs extremely well with just about every cigar. And I don't necessarily drink alcohol with mine, usually because I'm rating them, and I want to see how much nicotine there is in there. I want to see if any lightheadedness will only come from the cigar. A lot of times I'll just drink water with it so I don't taint it at all. I want to know exactly what's going on. Do I want to buy more of that same brand? And there are hundreds of brands and thousands of different models within each brand. So it can get pretty mind-boggling walking into a humidor. That's why it's best to start at a cigar shop and ask them, and they'll be more. All the cigar shops I've been to, extremely helpful. They will ask you your experience, what you like. Are you new? Okay, well then let's get you started. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get a good cigar. So I hope this was informative for you. If you're ever curious why I bother even smoking cigars and making reviews and stuff, and sometimes cigars get a little wavy, and so you have to touch them up. I'll show you how you do that. I'm not even touching the cigar, just letting the heat, whoops, and there it goes. It ignites on its own. That's what you want. You want it to ignite on its own. You don't want to be, it's not like a cigarette where you're just applying the flame right to the cigarette. No. It ignites on its own. It's the way it's meant to be. That's a sign of good tobacco. As a side note, most tobacco is from the Central American region. You've heard of Cubans, of course, and Nicaragua, Dominican Republic. Those are the big players. Mexico's getting into it. Costa Rica is too. Some tobacco is grown in Ecuador, a lot actually. Some of the outside, which is called a wrapper, is from even places like Cameroon, which is an excellent wrapper in my opinion. It's possible to have 5 different countries blended into a cigar. Smoked many of those. So anyway, it's a cool thing. It's not a health hazard. The secondhand smoke, especially when it comes to this, is just hogwash. You go look at the ingredients of a cigarette, see all the different things that are added to it. Nothing added to these. Okay, all natural. So thanks for watching. This is Chris Stogie Palace. Give me a thumbs up or subscribe if you like it. And I will see you guys later. Check out my other videos where I talk about these cigars, and I you know, it's all good as far as I'm concerned. If you want to start off with the swishers, I did. A lot of people did. A lot of people are looked down for doing that. I'm not one of those. Got to start somewhere. A lot of times people need that sweet tip to kind of ease them into it. But I will tell you, when you move away from those into the premium cigars, you probably never want to go back. Because then they taste totally artificial, and they are artificially flavored. Here, you get nothing but the tobacco, and tobacco leaves put off a whole bunch of different flavors. It's mind-boggling how many different flavors simple tobacco leaf will put off. They don't add chocolate flavoring to them, or cocoa, or coffee, or any of those things. Those happen naturally. So, appreciate you watching. See you later.